What would it look like if every time a bug came in, an AI agent was able to write a PR, like a pull request to say like, here's how we think we can fix this bug. Not only then are we like solving problems, but we're also making sure that like it never comes up in the first place. There really haven't been as many sort of inflection points in the way that technology works, the way that consumers interact with technology. And in 2026, we want to start to really define what not just best in travel looks like, but what is a best in class startup using these tools at an operational level able to do. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Flight Path, and it is the first episode of 2026. Wow, it is good to be back. I was just talking before we push record. I feel like it has been ages since we've done one of these. We've missed you all, but we're back in the saddle here for another incredible year. Before we jump in, quick intros. If this is your first time tuning in to a Flight Path episode, my name's David. I'm CEO and co-founder, joined by Brad, our head of design, Ollie, our head of product. And this is the podcast where every week we break down what's new in the world of Tern. We give you a behind the scenes look into what it's like building a technology platform in travel. And most importantly, we talk about what's new in the product and how that can help move your business forward. So if that sounds interesting to you and you haven't already, like this, let us know and in the comments what you think of each episode. And I think most importantly is go ahead and click on that subscribe button. And if you're on YouTube, you can do the little bell so you get notified. These should go live basically every Friday afternoon Eastern time. So that's the kind of welcome new year, new podcast for you. Now you know the drill. We're going to jump in, as we always do, to a kind of what's normally a like, how's your week? A little bit of a check-in, but since it's been like 3 weeks since we've done these, I'm going to call it a break recap, holiday recap. And Molly, you're kicking things off. You had a relaxing holiday, right? How was it? Tell us about it.
Well, okay, wait. The news of the day is that my son Theo, it's his first birthday today.
Hey, Theo.
Yeah, so that's just been, it's really fun. We're gonna have a little mini celebration for him tomorrow. And my mom is coming into town too, which I'm very excited for. But in less good news, yeah, everyone was talking about how much they slept and how much they relaxed over break. And I was like, I hate you all, because if you are new to the podcast, I have a 1-year-old and a 2.5-year-old, and they both got sick and we didn't have babysitting help. And so I was like going through it. I was like, so excited to get back to work so I can recharge, and everyone else, I basically hate you. So no, we have some absolutely wonderful holiday memories though, like opening presents, and Riley like kind of understands the concept of Santa now. So she was like, we baked cookies for Santa and milk. It was all very, very wholesome and cute and fun.
Sounds lovely. Brad, how was yours? A little bit more sleep, hopefully.
Yes, a little more sleep, but I spent a decent amount of my break, I guess, trying to get into Molly's position. Jack and I like...
Very strange way of putting it.
But you're talking about this, and I'm like, oh God, this is what I'm signing up for. But I talked about this with some folks who listen to the podcast even, that my partner Jack and I, we're starting the process to find a surrogate to help us become dads, which is very exciting. But there's a big journey there to like find the right person, and we like put together a little website, we like post on Facebook. I almost started bawling because so many advisors who I'm friends with on Facebook just started commenting, saying like how excited they were, how much, like just sending us so much love and joy. And again, just like so incredible to have all that support. But also it is, feels like a bit of a second job trying to like interview people, get the word out that we're looking, ask for referrals and connections. But it's been great. And I guess exactly what I'm signing up for is no sleep. Sick children. It's just,
but it's very worth it. It's very worth it.
It is funny how many of our breaks have like similar themes, because I'm like, the 2026 is also going to be the year that you get to like watch the three of us go through different stages of the parental journey, I guess. Like you've got Molly sort of leading the way. I've got twins due in February. Brad and Jack are on the early stages of the process. So if for nothing else in the human interest element, click subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think. If you have parenting tips, like we'll take those too, honestly. But I'll echo that. Like break was great. It was a good mix of like family time and things like that. But also we spent a lot of time building IKEA furniture for the nursery, getting ready for twins arriving, and so made some progress there. So it was like productive, and then did some fun kind of work projects on the side. So it was a good break. It's good to be back though, right? I feel like back in the rhythm, back in the routine, moving things forward. And we're shipping stuff. I mean, we're like kind of like 4 or 5 work days into the new year here. Things are already starting to roll out. We're already feeling the momentum build. So Molly, do you want to kick off with what's new this week?
Yeah. So over time, we've been getting more and more like time zone related feedback, I guess is how I would bucket it, where the biggest area was on the dashboard. People would see like their booking numbers, for example, reset a couple hours before they would expect. So going into the new year, this was even more of a glaring issue. But It might be, the first at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and all of a sudden your booking numbers are 0 and you're still working and you're like, wait, what's going on? Turns out time zone issue. So some of that information was in UTC, not localized to whatever your time zone was. So what we've done since is we've fixed it on the dashboard. So that is now those like reporting numbers are showing in local time. We also added a confirmation modal that will actually prompt you to make sure your time zone is correct and stored correctly in Tern. And then if you move time zones, very similar to other products, we will prompt you to confirm the new time zone. And then finally, we know there are still a few different places where things are in UTC and not localized. So if there's any that like bother you or messing up your workflows, please just ping those to us. It's now even easier for us to make sure they're localized.
Maybe we should clarify when we say time zone, we've not changed anything on the way we handle time zones on the itinerary. Very much still high on the radar. We know that like having to pick a time zone and like wanting to, that can be a frustrating piece. So that is a separate piece of feedback that don't email Molly about in this case. We know we are aware of what we need to do there.
Yeah, this is about when like the data in Tern like moves to the next day, basically. Not time zones on the itinerary.
Exciting.
So yes.
Go ahead, Molly.
Man, first podcast of the new year. We gotta.
We're still working on getting back in the flow, right? It's like who's introducing the next topic. I think like that was kind of fun. Like I logged in a couple days ago. And it's like looks like you're in Eastern time, which doesn't match your other time. Do you want to change it? I was like, wow, yeah, actually that sounds great. So there we go. First thing out. And there's kind of some other progress we've made, right? On the kind of booking management, a new beta feature out. Brad, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, also just shout out to, I forget who it was who posted in Facebook on New Year's Eve being like, guys, my thing rolled over. What'd you do? And Jack got so anxious about it. We like came back. We were like at a little Philly New Year's thing. And before it hit midnight, he's like, this is literally the only time of year I can fix this because otherwise you can't recreate New Year's Eve as like testing that the change you made like works. So yeah. Did a little New Year's Eve coding on the couch.
Literally leaving the New Year's Eve party to fix that. I love that visual. That's pretty funny.
But yes, separate from time zones, we are using some tools that should help agencies and agency owners clean up some of their data in Tern. And this most often applies to folks who've imported bookings or had us help them import bookings when transitioning to Tern, where if your team was already using Tern or some folks were building trips in Tern, and you also imported some things, you might have some duplicate records in there where your agents had something where they were like actually collecting credit card off from their clients. They had kind of their source of truth for a booking and you went and imported it from another system. So we're going to be adding a tool to the bookings tab. If you go commission, bookings, and the little 3-dot menu, the little more menu in the top right, there'll be an option to view duplicate bookings. And this will, we're kind of casting a very broad net to say, here are all the things that we think might be duplicates. It's very likely there are some false positives in there just to make sure we're surfacing as much as possible matches as we can find. And you can open up any of those matches. And then if you do say like, oh, these truly are duplicates, we don't want 2 records for the same booking, you can merge them. And what that will do is it will basically take any of the data we can't delete, like client payment information or commission payment information, and move it over to the one that you want to keep. And then the other, like the duplicate record will go away. And we're going to like talk about this as in beta to start. There's like a lot of behind the scenes logic to try and find duplicates. So definitely open to feedback there. If people try it and they're like, ooh, like this seems a little too broad, or what about this thing? Like definitely let us know because we can always make tweaks, but hopefully this should be a good step forward for folks to be cleaning some of that up if they've noticed that in the past.
And did you say like this should be ready either by end of day today or it could spill into Monday?
That. I didn't say it. I forgot to say it. Exactly what Molly said.
So if you're not seeing it and you're an agency admin, it's not anything you're doing wrong. It's not quite out yet as of 11:25 a.m. Eastern, to quote a time zone. But okay, kind of.
I kind of like that. Yeah, no, that was good.
But it should be by the time you're listening to this podcast, and if not, it'll be on Monday.
Super exciting. I think it'll be fun. Like just this sort of problem set is one that we've talked a lot about. Both Brad and Molly said this like very early days for this sort of like deduplication, how we build tools, right? But one of the features we get asked a lot about, it's like, okay, we want integrations to be able to like pull booking data in automatically. We want to pull it in from the GDS or these different partners. This sort of like idea of how do you understand if a booking or a activity or a record already exists in Tern so that you're not creating duplicates, or if you do create duplicates, it's easy to manage them. So this, I think, is one of those where again, very early, but the kind of what this is a first step towards is actually going to be like really transformational and enable a lot of these other feature sets that I think will be really important, really transformational in 2026.
And it's also like, I think it's a cool testament to how the agency implementation team is really leveling up and learning, because we used to hit this issue, right, of duplicate data. And our initial reaction was like, okay, we need some sort of like hard cutoff date for the agency where they're no longer reconciling in their old system and every single agency agent is using Tern and just using Tern, so we're not dealing with duplicates. And we learned over a couple months that just was not realistic for how agency owners needed to empower their teams on Tern. Often they really wanted to send an early cohort of agents over earlier to use it to identify issues between the two systems for training and for help the rest of their agents. And this is a great way of adapting, right? We can enable that while still allowing some of that like deduping process for like, data in both systems. So just cool to see the team like leveling up in this area, and we'll continue to get better and better. Our agency implementation is one of the newer like orgs within Tern, relatively speaking. And so like seeing it get better and better every single week has been really exciting. And going into 2026, I feel like more confident than ever about our ability to like implement, migrate these very large agencies.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I mean, like April of last year, May, some of the like early medium to larger size agencies that we have on the system, it was like Jade as a PM sort of trying to help them. We had no process, no playbook, no nothing. And it was like pretty rocky, right? It was like, we're still sort of sometimes like fixing a little bit of those problems. And then kind of like Q3, Q4 started to build like a team focused on this. And it has been so cool. Still a lot to learn, still a lot to do. We're not out of the woods yet. Like, wait, we want to make moving systems or moving to Tern specifically super easy. And like, we're going to continue to work on that. We're not there yet. I'd still tell people like it's worth it, but it's not, fun. I wouldn't like switch systems for fun on the weekend, but like, wow, it's worth it for your business. We actually want to get to a point where, again, maybe it's not fun, but it's like, it's pretty streamlined.
And maybe just one more thing here. Even if you're using Tern today and you're hosted, and you're like, oh, this probably won't impact me. Think about like when your host moves over to Tern, and they're like, oh, we want to bring all of our booking data from our other system. And you're like, wait, but I have everything in Tern already. So like that is, we're trying to get ahead of that problem because there are some hosts who are definitely trying to help move over. But there's, we want to make sure that we're not causing some chaos in the process.
Amazing. So that's we'll be going live very soon. If it's not live by the time you're listening to it. Last section on what we've shipped so far is quality of life, which is usually quality of life with Brad. But we didn't put a name on the agenda. Obviously, we're still a little rusty here. So, Brad, are you taking this one, or is Molly taking this?
I think I can talk over these things. So we made a small tweak, a first of like I would say many improvements for AI Assist coming soon. Where if you were creating a flight via AI Assist, like from the itinerary parser, you'd often end up with an extra empty flight leg on the flights that were created, and it was just some weird technical thing about the order in which things are created. So we've addressed that. Now you won't have weird ghost flight legs on the itinerary. And then we also made a very small UI tweak. When you're searching for properties, when you're adding a lodging item, you're searching for properties. We definitely know sometimes there's duplicates. Sometimes somebody went in and added something that they shouldn't have. And you're like, but I want that one that comes with the pictures and the content. So now you'll see a little enhanced tag in the search results to help you understand which one of those is actually kind of more the Tern approved or the more rich content version, and which one is just like some random entry somebody put in there.
Makes me think of the like you watch those like crime shows and it's like enhance, like zooming in. It's like
were you paying attention to the memes in our meeting where we talked about this? The chat was blowing up with enhance gifs and things.
I definitely was paying attention for sure. I just maybe missed those in the chat. Okay, obviously like good start, right? We're 5 days in, week 1 of the kind of new year. And so you'll continue to see this. One of the other things we wanted to do in this podcast, because it is the first podcast of the year, is also sort of take a step back and just sort of share a little bit of like behind the curtain. What are we thinking about for 2026? Like, how are we updating our operating model as a company? What are sort of the like very high level goals that this podcast is going to be talking about week over week over week on what we're building towards and sort of what we want to try and accomplish 26. That is really how we think about this podcast. It's like week on week progress, but sometimes we miss the like, okay, but towards what? And so we want to take this opportunity at the beginning of the year to say, what are we working towards? So the first thing that I'm really excited about, and we'll have kind of Brad and Molly share sort of why they think this is so important as well, is we want to double the pace that we operate in. And I talk a lot about this with the team. I talk a lot about this sort of internally, externally, but This is such a cool time to be building a technology company and like such a special moment. There really haven't been as many sort of inflection points in the way that technology works, the way that consumers interact with technology as we are seeing right now. You have like maybe the rise of the internet, you have the .com sort of era, you've got mobile, like, and now you have AI. And so to be able to be like at the stage that we're at with some of the most incredible builders and operators and engineers and product managers and like support and CX team members that we've ever worked with, and having this new era of tooling where a single engineer could actually write 2 to 3 times the code. Like an AI engineer can help review code. Like we can actually start to enable people who aren't designers to design things. Like we can build websites with like an AI agent that would have taken months and maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars of agency time in a weekend, right? I mean, like the opportunity here is really transformational. And in 2026, we want to start to really define what not just best in travel looks like, but like what is a best in class startup using these tools at an operational level able to do. And sort of the current goal that we have is we want to double the throughput on the R&D team. So take what we did in 2025 and we want to double it. We want to double the throughput. People are already like, wow, you're moving like really fast. I think Brad's going to talk about why like you shouldn't panic about that, and Mele as well. But I think this is going to be really transformational in the way that we can show up for this industry, the way that we can like meet more of this demand. And it's not just R&D, by the way. Like we'll talk about that. This is an R&D focused podcast where we really think about like building the product, but we're also thinking about that like marketing. Like we're thinking about that on the sales side. Like we have to say no to some agencies who want, deep dive demos and trainings because we just don't have the time right now. And so like, how do we actually start to use AI to level that up so we can meet with more people? How do we level up our support team so that you can get an incredibly high context answer 24/7 in whatever language you prefer to speak in, because our AI bot is just that good and has that much context, right? There's just like so many areas of the organization where we want to like double the bar from where it was last year. So that's like my rant. I could talk about this for an hour. I will try and stop myself. Brad, I know you had some conversations this week actually with some folks outside the org that kind of touched on this. Like, how are you thinking about it?
Yeah, the way I have been thinking about this is actually like, I don't know, if we go back to like how Tern started, it was like, okay, we started with like a CRM and an itinerary build. Like it was like a pretty small set of features, and it was pretty easy week over week to be like, here's a new feature. Here's like a new improvement to that area. And all of our customers were using like basically the entire feature set because all of it mattered for the business. As we've scaled, we've brought on different types of customers. Now we have agency owners, we have some like host agencies coming on. You've got people who focus in groups. We've got people who focus in luxury. We've like really broadened the types of people who are trying to get value out of Tern. And then also the types of features that they need to see improvement on in order to like move the needle for their business. And it's like, if we ship, the same amount of things we've been shipping week over week, but we like have grown what people need, like that we varying what people need. Actually, not every single person, not every single customer that we have today, every advisor is getting new value week over week. They're not seeing improvements to their business. They're like, oh, Tern's changing things, but not for me. And so the thing I'm really excited about is we need to be able to like double, we say double, but like generally, the faster we can move, the more people we can add value to every week. Not just like, oh, we're doing more stuff, like it's chaos. It's more like, okay, actually, we're able to help deliver for a broader set of customers on a regular cadence because we can move faster. That I think is going to be great. It's like, I had some painful like times like late last year where people are like writing in about groups and they're like, what's the groups updates? What are we doing? And it's like, oh, we got to find the time on the roadmap. What do we deprioritize? And instead we're like, no, actually, let's not deprioritize. Like we could figure out how to move faster so we don't have to make as many hard decisions like this or that. It's like we can do both because we're able to unlock that capacity.
Yeah, another good example is like we've had to do a lot of this bigger re-architecture to support the host model within Tern. And the team that's been working on that is typically doing other agency improvement features. And so we were fitting them in here and there, but like in Q4, did we add as many agency-centric features as I personally wanted to? No. Like, and that is what we're hoping to change. Like we can have consistent progress on some of those bigger architecture changes that we need to do while still having that same pace of innovation across the different personas using Tern. And the other thing that I'm just so excited about is we actually will have a full team who's only focused on quality, delight, and responsiveness. So we want 0 bugs in Tern. And we want any new bug that's reported to be resolved like instantly, basically. And we want those like little nit things here and there that really add up to be able to be solved instantly. Like imagine that. It shouldn't really be new things to learn. It's just like smoothing out the rough edges, killing those clicks, like that magic that makes the product just feel intuitive, that it just always works. That will be something that we're really hoping to achieve. And then the other thing just on my mind here is I think as we've had to do more in parallel, unfortunately, like part of what has gotten, I think, deprioritized more often is some of those quality of life things where it's not like as quick as an hour of an engineer's time. And so even though we really want to do it and know that it matters, it ends up just getting infinitely punted. And what we're also doing, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but like with each team being able to do more, we're going to have more dedicated space actually carved out to make sure that those almost, we call them mini projects, can actually get prioritized and we can remain really agile and responsive to that type of feedback. So yeah, I hope people aren't like, oh no, I'm already struggling to keep up and learn. Like, that sounds scary, but rather I actually think it should feel actually even easier to use the product and even easier to pick up things because of some of the things that we just talked.
There's so many compounding benefits. We'll move to like, okay, like how are we starting to operationalize this? But I'll just use like one example, again, sort of where this crosses between R&D and like support. What we see is that a lot of the support tickets that come in that take the longest to resolve, the ones where it's like you could be waiting days, right, for this to actually be like truly solved. It takes that long because there's something that has happened in the code base. Maybe there's some weird error. There's some specific state that like you got something in. And usually there's like, we have a bug tracker called bug snag. There's like usually a bug snag thing, but it takes an engineer digging in, trying to figure it all out, like, and then getting back to support then upset you. When we think about this like zero bug policy or being able to catch it, it's like, what would it look like? And I don't know how long it'll take us to get there, but like, what would it look like if every time a bug came in, an AI agent was able to write a PR, like a pull request to say like, here's how we think we can fix this bug. And the engineer's now moving into this like, and then maybe there's an AI agent that reviews it to make sure that the code's quality. And then it goes to the engineer to be like, yes, okay, like this all looks good. I'm going to put my stamp on it and ship it. Not only then are we like solving problems, but we're also making sure that like it never comes up in the first place, right? So this is where, again, the 2x throughput, I think if you're just like, okay, you have 2x number of the features to learn, like good luck. But actually, like to Brad's point, I'd love to exceed 2x. I'd love to get to a point like if we get 5x, like that'd be incredible because it would allow us to really engineer down the complexity, engineer down the things that like caused you to have to reach out to support in the first place. It would be like all the wish list items, like we could start to actually make more progress. Like everything gets better if we can move faster. And historically, we've never been able to do that. It's just not been possible without growing the team and exhausting resources. For the first time in history, we have these like knowledge workers that you just spin up as like AI agents, and they can like take on a lot of this work. They can figure out the context, they can ask questions. It is such a cool time to be building at all, and being able to do it in travel just continues to be incredible. So maybe Molly, do you want to kind of like break down a little bit of like, we've made structural changes behind the scenes. And again, if you're new to Flight Path, like we don't always talk this much in depth around like abstract topics and things, but like we do want this to be a look behind the scenes because we think like these decisions that we make all center on you, the user, right, being better. And so that is what this is all about. That's why we want to start the year with this. So Molly, like what structural changes are we making in 2026 to help actually like work towards this, and why do we think they'll work?
Yeah, the peek behind the curtain, right? So compose myself. Yeah, I think one thing that I'm particularly excited about is previously we had basically 3 engineering squads, teams of 3 to 4 engineers each. And then we also had a couple other engineers that were almost like off on their own, doing other things that were important, but it actually, their lives were made a little bit harder because they didn't have like a pair or a person to always be like thought partnering with and reviewing their code and like helping make sure they're working on the most important thing to the business and like, and that sort of thing.
You didn't want to use the Brian's favorite term?
Lone wolf?
Yeah, no more lone wolves.
Yeah, no more lone wolves. We're all pack animals now, people. So what we've actually done is we've consolidated everyone into like core product squads, and actually it'll be teams of 2 is kind of the simplest way of talking about it. So each engineer will have a pair partner, and they will be working on one focused set of work at any given time. They'll be reviewing each other's code. They'll be brainstorming together. There will be some of those pairs that are focused on not just feature work, but like security, infrastructure, things like that, in addition to feature work that they're doing. But that's basically taking the 3 parallel work streams that we were able to do before and more than doubling the number of things that we can do in parallel. And as a part of that, we want every single one of those pairs to be able to ship something every week, which is the bar we hold our current squads to. And in order to do that, there's just a lot that we're gonna have to learn around what we've been talking about, right? Like AI agents, process improvements, efficiency improvements, tooling, right? And so we're not going to get there overnight. That we're kind of more than doubling that output that we're able to do. But the goal is that if each of those pairs of two can really ship meaningful work every single week, that will achieve that goal of more than doubling. And it's even easier
So
to
cool.
do, I think, when it's such a small, tight group, because it's not having like one tech lead having to plan the work for 4 different engineers. It's really just like 2 people and their agents iterating super quickly together.
I can't wait for the day when we mention who the pair is on this podcast, and then the engineers start getting direct emails from customers being like, Jack and Spencer, I have an AI thing. I know you are the pair. That's all you're focused.
Spoiler alert, they are the pair on AI, so
The good news is they'll never guess their emails, so it'll be fine.
No, we don't have a format for how we do emails at Tern.
no.
Yeah, okay, the other
Yeah,
Go.
Brad, go take it away on your side.
Yeah, and okay, one other incredible thing from last year that we want to do even more of. I think we've talked probably enough on this podcast about at the users conference. We had engineers focus on like, what was it, like a 4 or 5 day sprint, if you will, to like deliver on this, like the combo of, hey, these are incredibly high value feature requests, but actually like we can make them very small and do many of them all within like a little surge. And one of our challenges to the team is like, how do we do that more often and more regularly? And so we're going to have basically all these pairs Molly's talking about. Like, yes, they will have big new feature improvements that take like a week to work on one thing and deliver that one thing. But also, I think what we say, like once a month, we're hoping they get like a sprint of smaller improvements. That's like, we are going to tackle as many of those like quality of life, quicker wins that we can get into 1 week, kind of replicating what we attempted to do at the users conference to make it so that it's like we can just deliver more of that value. Molly kind of hinted at it earlier, but as we scaled last year, the way we had the team structured, like the quality of life stuff just like kept getting pushed further and further down the list. And so you either get like really small quality of life or you get big projects, and trying to find that middle of like, hey, this is like a day of work, but would have a ton of value. We had a hard time finding. And now we're changing things up to try and make sure we have space dedicated every month for every pair of engineers to deliver more of those kind of medium-ish sized projects.
And maybe just like a plug here too there's obviously lots of ways we try to make it really easy for folks to like give feedback on what those quality of life signals are, whether it's like the conversations like the 3 of us are doing all the time, our product managers are doing all the time. But I'll also just give a plug for Canny. Like if you are in the app and you go to, I think it's under help, right? It's like product feedback. You can also chat with Finn, and there's like a little option to give feedback there, create an intercom ticket in the little chat bubble on the bottom right. But that is such a helpful way for us to see, just like go in, vote, take a couple minutes each month and just sort of browse Canny. And if there are things that you're like, wow, that actually really helped the way that I use Tern, just like upvote it, add a comment with some context on why it matters to you. We look at that all the time. We like use the leaderboard, but we also try and look for things where it's like, okay, we're touching this part of the product. Let's go look at the Canny feedback items that are sort of related, even if they're not the most like upvoted things, to understand the signal on what problems we're looking at. So that continues to be such an important signal for us, in addition to the Facebook group and the emails and the user calls, right? But like, if you're looking for something where you're like, how can I contribute to these like quality of life things? How can I make sure my voice is heard? We really, really do use that. So I wanted to just sort of give a plug there.
That's such a good point. Just like really to plus that, like I will close out and complete items that have like 7 votes all the time. And it's not because we're not aware that it has only 7 votes and another feature has 300. It's literally because it would be 30 minutes of work for an engineer who's already touching that code as a part of another feature. So yeah, just plus to that, and just getting the context. It's like, it feels like a PM superpower, a product manager superpower to anything you're working on. You just search the right keywords in Canny, and it's like the user feedback is just there. It's really amazing.
Yeah, like vote, super helpful. Even more helpful is vote plus context on why it matters to you, right? Like, how are you trying to use it? Why would this make your life better? Like, it's just such richness there. So yeah, and excited to hopefully be able to make even more progress. But I think sometimes people can look at the Canny tool specifically and be like, oh, this is like feature by, or like product by democracy. Like if I can't get 400 people to vote for this thing, then it will never happen. It's like not actually how we think about it at all. Like it's very different. So let's maybe move now to, okay, we talked about like we want to dramatically increase our our pace and our throughput across the organization. But people may be wondering like, okay, it's like what end, right? We've thrown out lots of different things, but like sort of what are we trying to actually accomplish this year from an R&D perspective? And so, maybe Brad, do you want to kind of kick off with, we have like really what we think about is like 3 primary pillars that we want to focus this throughput at. And so we're going to take you through each of them in I'd say like high level to medium level of detail on what we think that looks like. And then every single week from now until the end of the year, you'll hear us hopefully make progress to each of these. So Brad, do you want to kick off with the first one, which is really like building the absolute best platform out there for advisors?
Yes, exactly. So like David said, we have 3. The first one is so general. Best platform for advisors. Like what's not in that bucket is probably the more interesting question. But the way we think about this is more like, I think it's actually helpful to list all 3. We have that one. We have the like basically win with agencies of every shape and size. And then we have like new ways to bring suppliers in to help advisors move faster and be more effective. I think the advisor work is separate from agencies just in the sense that like agency is more thinking about how do you, it's like there's an extra layer of like managing your team, helping your team, like managing commission at scale across the team. But separate from those things, it's just like the day-to-day work any advisor is doing to communicate with your travelers, to plan trips, to send out proposals, collect credit card details, all that kind of stuff falls in this bucket. And we talk all the time about eliminating invisible work as like a kind of like a little, I would say catchphrase. It's probably some, I don't know, slogan. We need grace here for the marketing term. But that's the idea. It's like, how do we make you faster? How do we help you be more efficient? Help you delight your clients more and sell more is really kind of how I think about that bucket of work. And I would say like maybe just a preview of a few projects you'd expect to fall in that bucket. We get a ton of feedback on like really wishing you could have optional items that or like room options that influence the cost of a package. That's high up there on the list. There's some requests for improving groups to make it easier to manage groups at scale. That's in that bucket. There's this thing we talk about called AI and how we empower advisors with AI. That's very much in that bucket as well. So there's kind of a grouping of work there that I think it's like everything Tern used to be before we got into the agency space or into this integration space that we have an entire squad still dedicated to, and they're going to continue chugging away there.
I would just reiterate that the overall like intuitiveness of the product and bug zero policy and the quality and the small little touches, I think that'll apply across all of the different, focus areas. But the emphasis is really the advisor experience. They're in there like every second of every day and touching the most surface area. So that'll be that kind of pair is nested within the advisor focused on quality. So winning with agencies of any size, this has been something I've been focused on for the last year or so. We talked about flying around to these large hosts to do on-sites with their accounting teams. We also want to make sure Tern is as powerful and seamless as possible for the agency of 5, of 10, right? Like all the way up to thousands of agents. We have some really exciting work in that vein next year. Everything from AI commission reconciliation to seamlessly identify supplier payments in your email inbox and parse out those statements and match them to suggested bookings in Tern, to improving our unclaimed booking process where you can more effectively just match an existing booking to an unclaimed booking. Agents can say, hey, put their hand up, this is my unclaimed booking, to things like consortia integration. We know there's other consortia out there that folks want us to integrate with in order to make like marketing for their agency easier, for example. So yeah, there's a lot under this bucket, but what's really exciting is like a lot of the work needed to power hosts of thousands of agents will have just such a big impact on those teams of 20, of 30, of 100, right? Like think about trying to reconcile commission for 5,000. The tools we need to build for that will make it basically instant for the team of 10. So I'm really excited. I'm really fired up about this whole work stream. There'll be more travel and more meeting with our partners also next year.
I think these two things, I'll kind of build on that. Molly alluded to this, but these two teams, I think, focus on their sort of swim lane. But where the magic really comes for the industry is the fact that one platform will do both of these things. And I think the workflow on managing commissions, on everything that sort of goes into finance, accounting, being able to track that, like, it means hopefully, like as an advisor, you're getting paid faster, you're getting paid more accurately, you're not missing things that you're owed, right? Like it actually will like genuinely change your bottom line. It also means that if you're part of an agency or a host agency, they'll have better data to go and negotiate better commission rates for suppliers. Like, and the fact that you're using this tool already, it eliminates all the manual work that you have to do this. So you're saving that time to invest it back in clients. Like there's so many things. And so I think it's easy. We think both really matter. Because if you're an agency and your advisors hate Tern, not that your advisors hate Tern, but like if you're frustrated with Tern or you find it too hard to move, right? Like you're not going to get the benefit. If you're an advisor and your agency's not using Tern, you're not going to get the full benefit. Where the magic of this ecosystem comes together is when it works really well for both. And having these two dedicated focus areas and work streams on, we want this to be not just the best in the industry, but we want to be 10 times better than any other product out there individually. Like you compare us to any other itinerary builder, we want to win by 10x. You compare us to any other agency offer back office, we want to win by 10x. You put those together and it's like a category defining platform that's really going to change the way you work, right? That's like how we think about this. Molly, go ahead.
I have just one other thing. I think we have to talk about collaboration. It wasn't mentioned by either Brad and I, and I think it's because it's in this like messy middle of like some collaboration features are very agency centric, some are more like advisor centric, but big theme in Q1 will be how do teams work better in Tern? How does trip and contact sharing work more seamlessly in Tern? How do VAs plug in more effectively in Tern? How do like workflow task assignments and library sharing work? So that whole theme of collaboration is also very top of mind. It's an area we get a lot of feedback around. So that will be a focus area like across actually both of those squads.
So exciting. Which maybe brings us to our third focus area, which is a new one, right? We started talking about this like really in December of last year, which is sort of the way to bring suppliers in and really think about how that can unlock the next level of efficiency and impact for advisors. Anything, Brad, you want to add there?
I mean, I could talk about this. This is going to be a whole podcast topic in the future. I think the short story is we believe that you can sell more, of course, and be more efficient by having supplier content and ability to have things be booked with suppliers directly integrated into Tern. And we already released our first version of this with the Project Expedition integration, where you can browse Project Expedition's content without having to leave. You can pull into tour super easy, and you can just make it so that when your client's ready to pay for that tour, it just gets booked. And we're going to be doing that with insurance. We talked about this at a past webinar. We have 5 providers we got to get through early this year to actually get them out and working. We're so close on the first one. And then beyond that, like there's so much opportunity, whether it's additional tour providers, whether we think about transfers, maybe a little something called like hotels, if you've heard of them, cruise, whatever it might be, right? There is a team who's dedicated to which suppliers we bring on next, and how do we improve the way you interact with suppliers on Tern, again, to save you time and help you grow your sales. So always open to chat with people there if they have ideas, thoughts. Like we're in it. We have a whole team dedicated to it, and it's going to be a ton of fun.
And it was so cool. We were on a big agency, a call with one of our agency partners this week. And they were like, when's the TII, insurance integration going to be in place? Like, I want my whole team to get a training because I just know how much more it's going to help them sell because it will be so much faster. And we were like, that is exactly, just like repeating back exactly why we're doing this, right? So that was just like a really fun, seeing the excitement around some of the upcoming integrations. I don't get to actually be a PM for that team, but I get to watch from a little bit of ways away jealously.
So as we move to the end, I mean, I think like I'm so bullish on 2026. I mean, I think it's just like you've got this whole new operating model. You've got the team firing on all cylinders. You've got, I think, this like structure that's going to set us up for success. You've got these like clear 3 swim lanes where people are running towards it. Like, I just think it's going to be, I think we're going to look back at that sort of end of year review and just be like, this was the biggest year that Tern's ever had. And at the end of the day, that's about adding value to the listeners. I'll add one thing on the supplier side. Like if you're sitting here being like, wow, I really wish Tern would integrate with this type of supplier. Like we have a lot of data already, but that signal is valuable. So Canny, great place to be like, I would love this type of integration with the supplier, put it there. We'd love to see it. And then as we talk about week ahead, one of the things we're getting ready to launch is a brand new website. And we'll actually have a place where suppliers can raise their hand and say, hey, we're interested in talking to Tern about this. So if you have suppliers that you would like to see work with us, send them that link. We would love to kind of start those conversations. It'll be a great way to do that. So with that, let's talk about week ahead as we sort of wrap up here. Brad, you probably have the most fun week ahead. So I'm going to throw it to you first.
But yeah, my week ahead, I'm working on Monday, and then Tuesday, I'm leaving for South Africa, and I'm going to be on a trip for 2 weeks. So you won't see me on the podcast for a little bit, but hoping to disconnect from work for a little bit and then come back fired up and ready to tackle all the things we just talked about.
So fun. And we would spend way more time if we had it talking about what you're going to do in South Africa. But unfortunately, we were running low on time. So we'll get the recap when you come back. Ollie, what's your week looking like?
I'm digging into the process for agency leads. And this can mean a lot of different things. I think the current thing that I'm focused on is how are we letting agencies indicate this trip is an agency lead. I actually found the interest in this trip, I'm going to reassign it to an agent and have that kind of impact the commission rate in a like locked way so that that can't be altered by the agent that I've passed it along to. Same thing for contacts. This contact, if that's my policy as an agency, is an agency lead contact. So any trips that agents plan for that contact should be kind of permanently at this different commission rate. Kind of a bigger pain point that's been getting more attention lately is one of the bigger gaps on the agency side. So very excited to dig into that and get more clarity and queue it up for the next couple of weeks here.
So cool. I'll wrap things up. I'm really focused on working closely with Grace on like the marketing front. So we're working on launching an all new website. We're looking at ways that we can help. Like we know that like people come to the website or they're curious about Tern, they've got questions, but they don't always know where to ask them. So we're looking at new ways that we can use like kind of what we learned from Finn on the AI front and actually bring it to the kind of sales and kind of like pre-joining Tern front. So a lot of work happening there. And then a lot of just sort of like helping make sure the team has the right resources and we've got the right people focused on these sort of different work streams and thinking about that. So that's taking up a lot of my time, but really excited about kind of where this is going and the momentum you're going to start to see. January is always a little bit of a build, and then we sort of enter like February, March, and it's just the velocity is incredible. Thanks for following along. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know what you're thinking about our 2026 plan in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We will see you next week, and until next time, thanks everyone.